Now that we've defined angular acceleration and angular velocity, it's important to understand what a positive and negative sign mean, as in the case of linear motion, positive and negative signs meant direction. And so we're going to see what does direction look like for rotational motion, right? We're not going to say left and right anymore. So as a reminder, when we talked about linear motion, we oftentimes defined a coordinate system where right was positive. So in the case of this car moving in the top diagram, this would be like some positive velocity, right? Moving to the right. And then we defined some left direction typically to be negative. And remember, this was arbitrary, but we typically define right to be positive and left to be negative. Now, in the case of rotational motion, left and right don't really make a lot of sense, right? And so what we can do instead is we can use the words clockwise and counterclockwise, right? If you've ever looked at an analog clock, right, the kind with a second and a minute hand and an hour hand, then you'll see that the hands of that clock rotate in a certain orientation. And so we can define clockwise motion to be in this direction. I'll show this here in blue. Actually, so this would be what we're going to call clockwise motion, right? So it moves in the same directions that the hand of a clock would. That would be like this, right? So we'll just keep going just like that. So we're going to define clockwise motion actually to be negative, okay? And the reason for this is because if you think about how coordinates are usually defined, right? We usually start at 0 degrees and then we tick up to 90 degrees, and this would be like 180 degrees. This would be 270 degrees. And we typically think about going what we're going to call counterclockwise as positive, right? So this same orientation happens in rotational motion. We're going to call this counterclockwise direction. I'll go ahead and show this in yellow. So that'll be like this instead, right? So we'll go this direction. So if the vinyl record instead is rotating in a format that we're going to call counterclockwise. So this would be, let's see, counterclockwise, and that's going to be positive. I'll show that over here. I'll go ahead and demonstrate this in actual motion as well. So this would be counterclockwise or positive motion, right? Rotating in a counterclockwise format. And this would be negative or clockwise motion. All right, so we've defined sign and direction now for rotational motion, similarly to how we've defined it before for linear motion.